Hello. I plan on reading more of the Bible today. But before that, I told this person who wrote this post that I would read it on my channel. Um, I don't know what country they're from, but I know they live overseas. I know that she is a recently turned teenager, so fairly young person. And really, I don't even know what religion her parents follow, but I can tell you it has Jesus in it, so I've got to guess. um, but I'm just going to read the story, her post, and see how that goes. It's a lot. I probably put it in the description, but I'll say it here as well. Content warnings, sexual abuse against a minor, religious abuse. Like it's a horror story. It's a tragedy, and it's just something that I wanted to share because this person posted it on Reddit because they didn't have anywhere else to share it. They couldn't talk to anyone in their life about this horrible thing that everyone around them is going along with. And so she says, I've been sick for years and basically my entire life, but I've recently transitioned to high school, which is quite a distance from when I live, and because of that, my illness has gotten worse. I've been trying to tell my parents for years that I don't feel well, but they only ever listen to me when I can't go to school because of it, but otherwise they don't care. I've been out of school since November of last year due to my illness, which I have now learned is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and undiagnosed POTS, which is the main reason for my limited ability to travel far distances / travel often. My parents insist and keep telling everyone that I've suddenly gotten sick when I've been feeling the same way for years, and they keep bringing me to churches for deliverance, which has not happened yet. I live with my father, and he keeps forcing me to go to churches with him. He says I'm a demon and that people have done witchcraft on me. He never listens to me, and everything is done his way with no regard for my feelings. When he brings me to church, which is around twice a month, he always tells them the same story of, my daughter is very smart and she recently got sick in November and can't go to school anymore. We've been to doctors and there has been no help from them. And she says, false. I've actually gotten my diagnosis from my doctors, and I also was recommended to do physical therapy, but my father decided not to take me. He lets them do anything to me and cries fake tears in front of them and yells at me when we get home. I went to a church yesterday, and like they always do, they touch me without my permission. I have a long history of SA, so I really hate physical touch, but they never let me talk and force me to do it. They asked me to take off my pants and put on a skirt instead, which I questioned but then agreed to. A little bit after, my father said he was ready to go since I had an appointment to see my therapist because I was and still am in such a poor mental state, but the women in the church told him to stay. I had changed by then, and because of my SA and other problems, I really hate looking or touching my body and especially my legs. I told them that I wasn't going to change again because I'm uncomfortable, and they called me stubborn, and some of the ladies started to yell. I tried explaining to them that I can't do it, but they ignored me and still kept trying to push me. I eventually put my skirt over my pants and went back inside the church. I saw the pastor sprinkling some weird concoction on people, and the girls were all in skirts since they were revivalists. And when it was my turn to go up, I expected the same thing as everybody else, but then he backed away from me. Him and another man cut open a grapefruit and put some olive oil on it and rubbed me down aggressively. I tried to close my hands so I would have some sense of control, but they pried my hands open and twirled me around multiple times. A man then put something in his mouth and proceeded to spit on me twice all over my body, and then they put something in my hair along with olive oil all over my body. They touched me all over, and I've also been having this extreme burning pain in my lower back from January that I suspect is CRPS, but they touched there too, and now it's in a flare. I also have an eating disorder, and I was fasting at the time, but they wanted me to drink water that had a bunch of things in it and leaves. They said that the water had cream soda in it, which I told them I could not drink because it had sugar. The man, not the pastor, proceeded to force me to drink it and poured it down my shirt instead because I couldn't open my mouth to drink due to my fear of gaining. They later tried to convince me to drink and ignored my boundaries while still calling me stubborn, and I was crying so much during the whole thing. I also remember that right before they forced me to drink, the man lifted me up while I couldn't see because they had splashed me with so many things and twirled me around before putting me down and forcing me to drink. I still refused to drink any, but afterwards the lady that I had been with the whole time told me that afterwards they were going to give me a bath, which I agreed since she said it was only going to be her. I went there and they asked me to take off my clothes for the entire time so I could bathe, and she wasn't the only one there since there was another lady. I tried explaining why I couldn't do it, but they still persisted when the other lady eventually held me down by my hands and started splashing the water in my face while saying, "I command you in the name of Jesus." Because I was so frightened and tired, my hands were so red at that point that I pushed her off of me and started cursing her out while still crying at that point, and she said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, and I really questioned if God loved me at that point, and right now, I don't think so. A bunch of other people came in and still tried convincing me to take the bath, but I said no, and they said that I was so stubborn. I asked the lady if the fact that I was saying no is an excuse to hold someone by force and make them do something that they don't want to is okay, and she still said that it's because I was stubborn. I told them vaguely about my essay and asked the lady beside me if she has gone through it herself. She said yes, and she had many times over 6 years. I expected her to understand me by then, but then she said, but I dealt with it, which I then told her that me and her are in two very different age groups and hers happened more than 30 years ago, which would have given her time to heal, and that she had a support system since she seemed to be closely knit with the church, and that mine stopped recently, which was last year, and started before I was even 5, which she went silent for. They still tried to convince me after that, and when I wouldn't listen, decided to bathe me in my clothes without my permission. Another man splashed some water on me while I was still crying and told me to stand up, which I refused at first because I really didn't want to feel my legs. I didn't want to think about what happened to me, and when I did eventually stand up, I looked up in the air and told myself to not look down. I was fully wet from head to toe, and my eyes were burning when they were done. We went outside where we were talking about how stubborn I was and why I cursed in the end. The man said that he knew me, and I said that he was very funny. My father shed a tear in front of everyone, and I asked him why he was crying since he was so different at home, and then, while fully wet, I waited for my father to get the car, and I went home crying. Everyone says that I'm stubborn and overreacting and that I cry too much, but I just want to feel valid. I honestly think that worsened my PTSD from other churches, and now I'm even scared of water. I just want a hug, and I want to know if this counts as religious trauma. I've been thinking about it all day, and I have flashbacks and nightmares of it. By the way, sorry for my bad grammar. I can't fix it for some reason. That's a teenage person that has no one to talk to about the abuse they are actively suffering. The people who are supposed to be taking care of her are the ones inflicting the abuse. They think she's being stubborn for not going along with their bullshit, their completely unproven bullshit. And you hear the other people in the church are like, oh yeah, you get over it. You get used to the abuse. No, don't get used to the abuse. Fight this shit, please. I realize most people watching this probably, I hope, are not doing these kinds of things, but it's the belief, it's the failure of reality, it's the separating yourself from the truth that lets you believe that a God in your head gives you permission to do anything, to treat someone however the hell you want to treat them if you think it'll maybe somehow work, like bring them to God, because that's your only goal, is converting people. Like, you make it all this other bullshit. You lie, and you say, like, well, no, it's not about, like, just converting. Yeah, it is. And you're scared. That's the only reason you would believe such a stupid Bible, such a shitty God. That's the only reason you can justify doing things like this, is because you're so scared you decided to stop thinking for yourself. You decided to let God do your thinking, but he's in your head. You are thinking for yourself. You're just lying about it. You can't even see it. No one can talk to you when you're delusional. There's no reason to believe God is there. Is God letting this happen? What did this person do? 5 years old? Sorry, I don't want to, like, just rant and scream, because, like, the people who did this, I assume, are not watching this video. But it's sickening. And I ask, I guess, if you've made it this far, don't forget this. Don't pretend this doesn't happen. It's happening today. It's happening every day. People this delusional are in positions of power, are above others and can control them, can basically imprison them in these abusive situations. And there's nothing, I don't know what I can possibly do for this person. So as much as this is an extreme case, this is a real case, and it's not the only one of its kind. I do think this is a big problem, and I think that this is something we need to do something about now. I don't know what yet. For now, I'm just trying to raise awareness, because I think a huge part of the problem is that people assume it can't be this bad, or that it's not this bad, or that it's not very widespread. It's kind of everywhere. It really is. I've been spending a lot of time talking to people who don't have anyone else to talk to. Hearing very familiar story beats about, families that were supposed to take care of them doing the opposite, making things worse and calling it love. Abusing their children and calling it love. Pretending it's our fault. Like we deserve that kind of treatment. It's disgusting. It's fucked up. Don't have kids if you're gonna treat them like you own them. You don't. We're alive, fuckers. This person is alive and this person is suffering at the hands of her family. They believe in God, they believe in Jesus, they think they're doing the right thing by traumatizing this person repeatedly. I don't know what to do about it yet, but I thought it was important to share. I don't want these stories to be forgotten. I don't want her experience to be dismissed. She is still suffering. What is life even going to look like if she gets away? She's going to be dealing with this trauma for the rest of her life. And there are people out there right now who are saying, well, it's because she didn't believe in God. Like, no, not believing in God is the correct decision. It's the most reasonable thing to do based on the available evidence. Don't punish people for being reasonable. That makes you the bad guy no matter what God you believe in. Stop being so selfish. Your God is in your head. It is your ego. Stop feeding it and look around. Please. You're not the only one on this earth. There's a lot of people a lot worse off than you who could use your help instead of your hindrance. I used to be the same. I used to believe in God, and I was a very bad person during that time. Since realizing it was in my head, I've been deprogramming myself and working on better habits, and it's been going very well. But I'm very lucky. I'm lucky that my ex was here to give me this space. I'm lucky that I saved up enough money to be able to quit my job for a while and really, really work on myself. Not everyone can do that, and I think actually most people can't. The cost of living is too high, jobs are too shitty and don't pay enough, and there's a lot of pressure on everybody. And if you think there's not, you're ignoring real problems. You're being selfish. You're selfishly saying, well, their problems don't affect me, so they must not be that bad. Just give it time, I guess, because this is going to affect everyone. This is really affecting everyone. It's just that some people are denying it. I wish I could do more. I really don't know what to do about the world. It's fucked up. I know it's not my job to save it, and I'm not trying to take that as my personal responsibility, but we should try to make it better, shouldn't we? So, thank you for being brave enough, really, to face the truth, to listen to her real experience. I really hope that this person and people like her can find relief, can find love, healthy love, real love, not fake manipulative bullshit. It's killing us. I know it's easy to get overwhelmed in the world. There's a lot going on. But try not to lose yourself and try not to make things worse instead of better. It's really easy to do, unfortunately. So I don't know what's going to happen going forward. If you have any stories like this that you would like me to read, please send it to me. Comment, email, anything. If you think that your story is not that important, you might be surprised. You don't know until you share it, right? Because the thing is, you're probably not the only person thinking the way that you're thinking. There's so many people in this world, and there's so many people with similar challenges and obstacles. That they might all be deciding to not share their stories, and it might be a larger problem than anyone could be aware of. We need more insight into what is happening. So if you have anything like that, please send it my way. Try to make sure it's true. I don't want to spread misinformation. Yeah, I'll read it here. I'll talk about it a little bit, but mostly I just want these things to stand on their own as this is what's going on. Like, I don't want to try to spin it for my own, And that's why we should vote for whatever. Like, no, like, I think it's a little bigger problem than that. It's not something that you just boil down to push your political agenda. It's people's lives being abused, being wasted, being tortured instead of loved. There's no need for that. We have so much. There's no need for that. It's deeply upsetting. I know I can't, react enough to express it. I'll probably just cry a little later, but no need to do that on camera. And when I say don't forget this story, I also don't mean don't obsess over it, don't fixate over it. You personally do not have to save the world either. You probably can't. We don't have that kind of power by ourselves. But I hope that if we keep talking about it, we can figure out some kind of plan to help people like this. As far as I can tell, she deserves love. Healthy love, not this abuse. Man, I can't say it enough. Life is hard sometimes, man. I'm so lucky. I wish I could share my luck. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, some way. You are a person in this world. Your actions affect the other people in this world. Your beliefs drive your actions. Your beliefs are very important. Please think about them carefully. And ask if you have questions. I've done a lot of thinking myself. It's hard. I will say that. It is not easy. But thank you for watching. I hope some good comes of all this. Best of luck with whatever's ahead, and goodbye.